I get asked a lot, what is this pad sitting here and why do these jaws look like something you can't get anywhere? And the answer is a piece of industrial carpet pad felt and 2 blocks of aluminum that we just drilled a few holes through to modify a normal thing in order to hold on to work in such a way that we can do things and not damage them. And that's where we're at. So what I want to talk about is the universal work holding system as a device and how to hold on to work in it and the things you can do with it. So that's the premise of this. I get asked this question a lot. How do I hold on to stuff? And what's really driving all this is that I got asked to review a Vise Jaw product that's magnetic, it's plastic, and I'm not compensated to do any of this, and they want me to do this review, and I'm going to do it. So let's go. You know, let's admit it, I'm a gunsmith for a living, and when I was asked to talk about different ways of holding on to work, let's start with how to not hold on to it. This 4-screw end frame, for instance, okay, and that's caused by Vise jaws that look like this. And this is what comes in a standard Mark 1 Mod 0 vise. And I'll tell you what, you can actually come down on a piece of material like that, hang on to it, and have it, let me see if I can get that pattern to show right there, right down there in the corner. Look at that. You've got that entire impressed pattern in there. It'll even do it in steel. And if you really want to mess it up, you hang on to it like this. Oh, gee, I wonder what the surface of that material looks like. Check that noise out. Unacceptable in a fine instrument repair shop, which is essentially what this is. So in an attempt to get around that, you know, do we really care if we mess this lawnmower blade up, for instance? All we're going to do is hang on to a lawnmower blade and sharpen it. Do we really care if we mark it up? No. But when you're working on stuff that people have to see, this is a problem. So one of the ways to answer this question is this: magnetic Vise jaws, okay? And they're supposed to stick on here, and they do, and now we have a soft jaw, and we can grab whatever we want to grab, as tight as we want to grab it, we can beat on it, and nothing moves, nothing goes. So this is their answer to it, a magnetic Vise jaw. That's the positive part of this. The magnetic part we'll talk about here in a minute. But you can do it this way. I've seen it done with bronze. These are in my home workshop, for instance. You can do it smooth, or you could use a piece of felt or leather or whichever. All right. Again, I'll tell you, this is a piece of industrial carpet pad. This solution is actually pretty good for, say, around the house, hanging on to big things. There are, however, some issues to this. They come in a variety of sizes. These are hard, these are soft, and they work well if you're on center line. But if you don't grab these things right on center line, they'll rotate out. You have to have complete coverage in order for this to work, however. Here's a chunk of steel. That magnet's going to touch there. This magnet's going to touch there, and that would be a great hold on. The problem is a lot of vices don't come with jaws large enough to be able to get all this. So this is kind of a tenuous hold. This is kind of a tenuous hold. And that brings me to my real issue with magnetic jaws in a precision workshop. And this has nothing to do with the workmanship of the product. It has everything to do with the fact that it's magnetic. And you see all this swarf grabbing right here? If you're down inside something that requires you to have nothing in it, you're going to get this metallic stuff is going to get picked up from everywhere in the shop. Here, let me see if I can go down on top of my workbench here and just grab some more. There we go. There's some more stuff right there that's stuck to it. That was the main issue we had. I can work around all of this. And the other thing is, the magnets on these things are so strong that they magnetize the jaws There are places where magnetic work, holding on to like screwdriver tips and things, are necessary and actually beneficial. But in a precision workshop where you're trying to hang on to things and not get dirt and magnetic swarf all over the inside of it, they don't work that well. However, there are places where they do work phenomenally. For non-precision work, and I'm talking about, like, say for instance, in my precision repair shop, I just happen to want to work on my mother's bicycle. And I think she rode this thing probably 30 years ago. These are great, but you'll look here, you'll see they're deformed. And I knocked them off because this is not the optimal vice jaw to work on. It's not large enough. It doesn't have enough metal. But it's not a defect in workmanship. It just is what it is. For the guy at the house that needs to just quickly be able to mount this bike and not mess this paint up, or sharpen a lawnmower blade, these things are great. I'm not paid to talk to you about this. They just sent me a pair of them and said, would you make a video and review our stuff in your shop? And that's what I'm doing, because my opinion is mine and I don't sell it. They have one other thing. I'm working on a swing set that I built for my kids when they were 6, 7, and 8 years old. And they're in their almost 30 now, and I'm getting ready to have a grandkid. So when I'm 15 feet off the ground and I'm working on a wooden swing set, this little doohickey that they have now, magnetic stuff, comes into its own. Because we had a saying in the Navy, one for the ship and one for the rigging. And I was a submariner, so not a lot of sails down there, but when I'm hanging on 15, 16 feet up in the air and I'm working in and out, I can go back in, reholster, and drop it on the floor. And I can do the work I gotta do, and I've still gotta learn how to reholster with this because it isn't, there it is, right there. I got it. That's it. That's where you want magnetic stuff, in non-precision applications, working on bicycles, hanging 15 feet in the air. And I'm gonna tell you what, that is a spectacle. The hard ones, we had them in a vise. We were doing a little bit of soldering work. They are heat resistant. They're not fireproof. They kind of just sort of melt. Now I'm doing this with the hard ones, so they don't even burn. So we did some soldering work in here. We had them in this vise that had the large jaws. I don't think these soft plastic ones would put up with that. No, they'll just catch on fire. But I don't suppose that they're engineered for that. However, even in my high capacity Wilton, these things held up. This is what's left after soldering the ribs on an entire barrel. And you know something about putting a torch on these vice jaws? They get hot. It's JCL. They're made in Australia. For what they're made for, they're actually very good. Are they particularly useful in a precision workshop? No, but that's not why you buy this product. You buy this product so you can hang a bicycle off the end of your workbench. So having said that, I'm keeping them and I'm going to use them. So that's all I got to say about that. And thanks a lot for joining me here for a few seconds.